Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 91 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman, joined by my co host, Chris DiPietro. If you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have you. And if you've been a regular listener, welcome back. We have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. We'll look at a general overview of the NBA this week and then discuss some important topics across the association. Let's get to our content for the week. Not really much going on in the NBA this week, but Chris mentioned this one story that was worth talking about.
Definitely worth talking about.
Yes.
More than worth talking about.
Taj Gibson, this NBA legend, Taj Gibson, signed with the Memphis Grizzlies this past week to a multi-year contract. He's 40,
Multi-year?
he's 40 years old.
Multi-year? Is that right? I hope you're right. That'd be amazing.
ESPN says 2-year deal.
No way. Taj Gibson still got it. That's unbelievable.
Taj Gibson still got it. He's 40 years old, 2-year contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, now we know why, because it's the Memphis Grizzlies of all teams. He ain't getting a 2-year from the Thunder or anybody like that.
Man, that's just wonderful news to me. I'm so glad we're covering this major story.
Taj spent most of his career with the Bulls. He's bounced around the league for the last couple years. Interestingly, started 11 games last year in Charlotte, which was his most starts in a season since the 2019-20 season. That was the COVID year, by the way. When he does appear in a game, he'll be the 35th player to play an NBA game at 40 years old. Taj was drafted 26th overall in 2009 alongside players like Steph Curry, James Harden, and DeMar DeRozan. And Chris, we always talk about players being steals in their draft and, oh, they shouldn't have drafted so and so. And Steph Curry was drafted by the Warriors, despite the fact that the Timberwolves blew it with the two picks before him with Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn. Do you know, Chris, who Taj Gibson was drafted right after? And this was, wow, what a pick this was.
Right after. What year was this again?
Oh nine. So Taj was 26. Who was 25? You'll never get it.
I'll never get it, huh? Pick 25 in the 2009 draft. Are they still playing?
God, no.
Oh man. I don't know. Enlighten me, Larry.
Rodrigue Beaubois.
Oh,
He's a
legend. How
French
could I forget?
he's a French player, but hey, don't clown him too much. He's an NBA champion with the Mavericks in
Oh,
2011. So
like I said, legend.
yeah, absolute legend, Chris. But Taj Gibson is back in the NBA. How this man keeps getting on contracts, I have no idea, but what a story this is.
Yeah, it's incredible to see such a legend of the game, still contributing at such a high MVP caliber level so late into his career. You always hear people talking about LeBron James's longevity. I don't know why when the conversation should obviously be shifted towards Taj Gibson. I could really see Memphis making a potential playoff run with Gibson now in the rotation and potentially even squeak their way past to Detroit, past to Boston. And I would not be shocked at all to see them break into the NBA Finals and really compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder here. Taj Gibson just brings so much to the table, even in his old age. Yeah,
Wait, 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 wait,
it's
wait. I didn't know the Grizzlies are meeting the Thunder in the finals in the same conference.
Oh, that's right. Well, sorry, I'm planning ahead for the inevitable Seattle and Vegas expansion when Memphis gets moved to the East. So
Or the Timberwolves, you never know.
you think they'd be in the East over who is more East?
Oh,
Memphis or Minnesota? Definitely Memphis, I
Oh,
think,
Memphis
right?
definitely, but Minnesota, I think I've seen somebody said maybe Minnesota's kind of right near that that
Yeah.
North division. So, but what an absolute story. Taj Gibson, his 2 points a game is going to go a long way. This is like Kendrick Perkins level of production. Just a great all-around story. Taj Gibson still got it. Chris, shocked to hear it's a 2-year deal. See if he can do anything with the Grizzlies. Grizzlies ain't going nowhere right now. We'll see how this all pans out. Taj Gibson back in the NBA. This episode is entitled Picture This. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment?
Okay, so we're kind of headed into the home stretch here of the regular season where the games really start to pick up and matter. And something that's been kind of equally as tight lately, maybe as it has been all season, is the MVP race. it kind of, we're coming to this home stretch and it kind of feels like it's more open than it has been all season. Obviously, you have Shea and Jokic up at the top as they seemingly always are, but you see players who we'll talk about that, seem to be making some solid cases. And if the Thunder continue to lose games or Jokic misses I think he only has one more game he can miss. I mean, we could see one of these potential dark horses, and maybe not even their dark horses anymore. We got some real contenders here in the MVP race. So me and Larry decided to make our top five MVP ballots right here heading into the home stretch of the season in a maybe not wide open, but a pretty open, more open than it's been all season MVP race. We both have an honorable mention. So, Larry, if you'd like to give us your honorable mention to kick us off here.
For my honorable mention, I told Chris before we started that it's not somebody who you would think, and there's a reason behind this. My honorable mention is Mr. Nikola Jokic,
Wow,
only
that makes
because
sense.
he is right at the cutoff point for missed games. I think he's right. He's at like 16 games missed. You're allowed to miss 17. It's the 65 game minimum, so obviously 65 and 17 is 82. And if he misses another game or two, he will be out of the running. The Nuggets are in a prime position to make obviously the playoffs and a deep playoff run nonetheless. But Nikola Jokic, as talented as he is, this 65 game minimum stops for nobody. And some big candidates have already been eliminated because of this rule. Giannis is out, Embiid is out. Somebody who maybe not as often now, but in the past, Steph Curry is also ineligible for postseason awards. There will probably be a couple more as we get closer to the end of the season. Some players who are hovering around this ineligibility right now, I just mentioned Nikola Jokic. Kawhi Leonard is at 14 games, and so is Victor Wembanyama. Luka is at 12. Shea is at 11. Kind of a tough list to look at, and we're going to be getting some B tier and C tier candidates potentially, depending on how this plays out. But Mr. Jokic, my honorable mention.
My honorable mention, kind of a similar reason to you, but I'd say more so dealing with his play rather than the amount of games he has left before he's eliminated from the race. My honorable mention is Victor Wembanyama. My criteria for MVP sort of revolves around the idea of how much better do you make your team. I think, like the name of the award suggests that the most valuable player, who is the most valuable player in their league to their team. So naturally, I kind of gravitate towards, offensive and defensive rating numbers, net ratings. There's on-off net rating numbers I have, and that's kind of the basis of my arguments here for who I believe is the MVP, who I believe are the top candidates. And Wemby here actually has very glowing on-off numbers here. His net rating, which is just basically how much points are the Spurs better with Wembanyama in the lineup, is 13.3. They're on average 13.3 points better than their opponent per 100 possessions when Wemby's on the floor. But there's a separate stat on off net rating, which compares you not to your opponent, but it compares you to your team when you're off the floor. So how much better are the Spurs when Wemby's on the floor compared to when Wemby's off the floor? Plus 10.6. That is still like very good and very encouraging. So that's why he's even an honorable mention here. He's obviously a phenomenal player. He's one of one. But not only is this a pretty stacked MVP race, this one stat kind of made me want to move him down a little bit into the honorable mention slot. The Spurs are 10 and 4 without him this season, which I can get into on-off numbers all I want. And I can tell you that the Spurs are 11 points better when Wemby's on the court compared to off the court. But the Spurs are 10 and 4 without him. That's a fact. That's there's not a whole lot reading you can do into that. They're a very good basketball team in a loaded Western Conference without Wemby. And there's no doubt they're a better team with Wemby. Again, that's what those kind of net rating and on and off net rating numbers would suggest. And he's an amazing player. He's a special player. He's going to be an all-time player. And he's going to be an MVP candidacy for probably another 10, 15 years. But the Spurs have been a great team without him this year, which was kind of glowing to me, and it's the reason why I have five other guys above him who we'll get to. But he's still very much into this mix. I think you could probably make a case for him maybe around three. All these guys are so close, I think, that I kind of just got nitpicky. We have to get nitpicky with some of them, and seeing that stat regarding the Spurs record without Wemby was a bit glowing to me. So I decided to slot him in as my honorable mention. I think there's five dudes just slightly higher than him in the MVP race.
You were the one saying in the first episode this season, you're like, what's that? Beep beep boop. Oh, it's Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. Oh, now he's an honorable mention. Okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry. I switched up on Wemby, but I have to be honest with myself. I can't be stubborn. I have to adapt.
All right.
So that's what I'm doing here.
For my number five pick, I'm gonna go. I know there's obviously like the favorites and then like the next tier favorites and whatnot. I'll give somebody some love from the local area. I'll go with Tyrese Maxey of the 76ers.
Okay.
Clear face of the Sixers, despite Joel Embiid still doing his thing. We know with the injuries, and he's going to be out for the next 3 games with an oblique injury. And Tyrese was named an All-Star for the second time in his career, and he was a starter for the first time this season. He has really taken a step up in his career. You can't put into words. He's just, he's Mad Maxi for a reason. He's got the quickness, he has the shooting abilities, and I think he has what it takes to lead the Sixers to where they want to go. The question is, as we get closer to the postseason, can he take the Sixers out of the second round? That'll be something that we'll have to come back to as we get into the spring. But Tyrese Maxey being number five, I think is fair. Not too high, not too low. And this 65 game minimum really throws a wrench into a lot of players' ballots or whatever. So I think some players got to fill that spot, and Tyrese Maxey is number five.
That's fair. I think he's having the best season of his career. But he didn't crack my top six here. I still think the Sixers are substantially better with Embiid on the court compared to just Maxey. And I think there's an argument to be made that Embiid is he's still the most valuable player on the Sixers. They have a losing record without him. And obviously, we don't really know what it looks like to see the Sixers team with Embiid and without Maxey, so I can't really speak fully into that. But he has been incredible this year. He's having an amazing season. I think he's going to be on an All NBA team this year. He's definitely taken another leap. Didn't crack my top five though. In my five spot, I'm going with Donovan Mitchell. Plus 9.9 net rating and a plus 11.7 on-off net rating. The Cavs are 12 points better per 100 possessions with Donovan Mitchell on the court compared to the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell on the court. And I'm going to take it back to my argument why I put Wemby in my honorable mention spot and how the Spurs were still really great without Wembanyama. It's a small sample size. I'm going to continue to kind of lean on this similar argument as I move forward with some of my picks, but the Cavs are 2-4 without Mitchell. It's a small sample size, but I think it's clear enough that they're worse without him. He is the offensive engine. Can I see James Harden possibly, taking over that role with maybe not the same efficiency, but enough to still win games and be competitive? If the Cavs were to ever lose Donovan Mitchell to injury, yeah, I could see that. I could see the Cavs still being good. But from the sample size we have, the Cavs are worse without him. And that is what the net rating numbers would suggest, unlike they did with Wembanyama, which is why I have Mitchell above Wembanyama, because the Spurs were 10-4 without him, but his on-off numbers were good. So Mitchell is just doing Donovan Mitchell things. He's the engine. He's the go-to scorer guy on the Cavs. He has been for his entire tenure there. He has been on whatever team he's been on for most of his career. And that's just who he is. He's like a 28 point per game perennial scorer, perennial all-star. And he's a fine defender. He's not a sieve on defense like we see with a lot of these primary scoring options. But I would say the knock on him because, he has the on-off numbers. The team, I think, is pretty clearly worse without him. The one knock I'd probably give him is I don't know if he's quite the guy late in games that you want with the ball in your hands with, just compared to some of these other MVP candidates. Like when I'm watching the end of a Cavs game, and obviously Donovan Mitchell's going to be the guy with the ball in his hands, I think I trust these four guys above him to close out the game just a little bit better. I feel a little more secure with the ball in their hands. Donovan Mitchell, he's far from an empty stat player, but I don't know if he has quite the overall impact just with the eye test than these other four guys. He doesn't feel as control. He doesn't feel as consummate of the team's success, maybe compared to these other four guys. But the on-off numbers and their record without him certainly suggest that he is super valuable to them, and then they would likely be screwed if they were to ever to lose him. So, and he's having a tremendous season, maybe the best of his career. So he is my number five guy here.
You got to feel for Donovan Mitchell playing in Utah and Cleveland for his two stops in the NBA, but he is
Facts. I gotta
doing.
get him in Miami or something
Yeah,
next to
get him to
break.
get or New York. He kind of wants to go to New York, low key.
I've heard that, yeah.
But yeah, Donovan Mitchell is definitely the Cavs engine compared to some of the other players they have. And now they got rid of Darius Garland, and you're getting another ball dominant player in James Harden. And we'll see how Harden and Mitchell do when the sample size is a little bit larger. For the moment, though, a great pairing, and Donovan Mitchell has been that steady in the land. So my number four pick, and as you said, you're going for somebody who's a little bit more of a closer or just, I guess, somebody that's a little more, larger presence. So I'm going with the man from Slovenia, and his name is Luka Doncic in my number four pick for MVP. As I mentioned a few moments ago, he's getting up there in missed games as well, currently at 12. He's got a little bit more room than Nikola Jokic, but still kind of falling in that eligibility too. But that's no knock to him. He leads the league in scoring, 32.6 points per game, usually averages around a triple double. He is just a one of a kind player. There's a reason he was traded on draft night for Trae Young. The Mavericks wanted him so bad. Now he's on the Lakers, and with LeBron clearly starting to show signs of aging, Luka is the clear face of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. And without Luka Doncic, Chris, I think the Lakers would be a lottery team. Nothing against JJ Redick. He is a coach that truly cares and knows the game, but without Luka Doncic, we've been talking all season about the Bucks being Giannis and friends. Luka, without him, I don't even know what you would say. We said Giannis and friends. We said I coined the term Devin Booker and acquaintances, Luca and bums. I like. I'm kind of running out of ideas here, but the Lakers. I don't know what the Lakers would do without him. Another criteria for MVP: where would your team be without X player? Would they be like the Spurs? Would they? They'd still be hovering at least above the play-in tournament. Would the Nuggets without Jokic be a lottery team? Would the Lakers without Luca or LeBron, they'd be trash. So Luca's my number four pick. You can clearly trust him with the ball late in games. He's taken a team to the NBA Finals. He scores at will and is an all-around machine.
Yeah, he's certainly up there. I think you have to acknowledge Luka Doncic when you're in these conversations. Again, I would the one not kind of similar to Mitchell. Like it almost feels like they're just kind of large scorers. And Donovan Mitchell isn't known for his defense. He doesn't quite demand the full court gravity as a Jokic, who is a threat passing the ball as well, a major threat where, Donovan Mitchell, he racks up his assists, but when you're defending against Donovan Mitchell, you're really just not trying to let him score the ball. He doesn't feel like a totally complete player. And I think Luka Doncic kind of has a similar knack in that regard, where Luka's effort this season has been questioned. His defense will always be a question, I think, at this point. And I was actually looking at his on-off numbers this season, and I think they're +3 with Luka this year, the Lakers are, which I mean, they're a better team with Luka on the floor, but not super substantially. And they're not a whole lot worse without him on the court. Just, pure net rating numbers here. I don't know if the Lakers would be at 10 wins right now without him, but the defense is a real concern. The effort's a real concern, and he can score at will. And that's the reason he's up here. That's the reason we talk about Luka as an MVP candidate. But again, I don't know if it's hard to call him the most valuable player in the league when those concerns exist. And I don't think anyone you will have above Luka will have those concerns. I have six guys above Luka, so and I don't have really those concerns with any of these guys. Maybe with Mitchell, but again, I'm much less worried. Mitchell effort's not a question with Mitchell. It's really just the matter of him being a complete player. And I still think he's a more complete player probably than Luka is. Again, probably the most feared one of the most feared scorers in the league, and man, I don't know where the hell the Lakers would be without him. It'd be ugly. So that's an apt placement there at number four. My number four, I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's my number four. We just talked about, I don't know where the hell the Lakers would be without Luka. Man, the Clippers might be even worse than the Lakers would be without Luka if they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. They are 4-10 without him this season. So I put Mitchell above Wemby. Again, they had similar net rating numbers, but we saw the Spurs be great without Wemby, and we saw the Cavs not be so great without Mitchell, but it was a small sample size. Kawhi has those net rating numbers in alignment with Donovan Mitchell and with Victor Wembanyama, and the record without Kawhi Leonard this year, pretty bad. So he's in alignment with Donovan Mitchell there, as both of their teams are not winning games without them. But Kawhi Leonard has the bigger sample size here. So the Spurs were a good team without Wembanyama. The Cavs were a bad team without Mitchell, but it was a small sample size. The Clippers are a bad team without Kawhi Leonard, and they have a pretty large sample size. They're 4-10 without him this season. His on-off numbers, they're +4 with him on the court. They're 4 points better than their opponent per 100 possessions with Kawhi on the court. But again, that on-off plus minus, which I think you could argue might be even more valuable when discussing a player's MVP candidacy. The Clippers are 10 points better with Kawhi on the floor compared to the Clippers without Kawhi on the floor, which is right in line with Wemby and Mitchell. I just think Kawhi's playing some of the best ball of his career. He's a more complete player than Donovan Mitchell is. There's a bigger sample size of the Clippers being worse without Kawhi Leonard than there is the Cavs being bad without Donovan Mitchell. Kawhi's averaging 28 points per game. He's averaging 2 steals a game, which is the second most steals he's ever averaged in his career after all the knee surgeries in his old age. He's playing some of the best ball of his career. He's been amazing down the stretch this year. Kawhi Leonard's my number four. I think he's more valuable to the Clippers than Donovan Mitchell is to the Cavs and Victor Wembanyama is to the Spurs this season at least.
You're saying 4-10 without Kawhi Leonard. Now, I would assume most of that is before they traded away Harden and Zubats. So imagine if they started the year without Harden and Zubats and they had that 4-10 record.
They
That'd be
might be 0-14.
yeah, or like it'd be like a negative, like -1 and 15 or something. Like, yeah, so it'd be pretty bad for the Clippers. But yeah, Kawhi, he's at 14 for missed games, so he's getting up there. Should be in the MVP race, but it is what it is. All right, so my number three is a man that has really made a name for himself this season. He's always been a threat. He's an NBA champion, but he has really stepped up when the moment has arisen, and that is Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. He has carried the load for the Celtics in Jason Tatum's absence with his injury. Career high 29.1 points per game. He has steadily improved in most of the seasons he's played, and this season is no exception to that. He has Boston just 5.5 games behind the top seed Detroit Pistons in the East. We all thought the Celtics were going to be a bottom feeder this year. They were going to tank or just punt for this season. Jaylen Brown had other plans, though, and said, you know what? It's my time to shine. And with the reports that Jason Tatum could be back anytime now, this could get very ugly for the Eastern Conference if he comes back ready to go with Jaylen Brown carrying the Celtics as much as he has. Jaylen Brown is known to be, a two-way player. He can play some defense. He is a go-to scorer, and he just really is a threat in the East and across the NBA. So Jaylen Brown is my top three pick here. And I feel like as we keep going up, our picks are going to get a little more obvious, but that's just because of how great they are.
Now, don't get me wrong. Jaylen Brown is having the best season of his career. All right. He's really stepped up as a creator. He's been awesome down the stretch this year. He has the Celtics in an amazing position right now, without Jason Tatum. And I give him a ton of credit for that. But he didn't crack my top six.
Whoa.
And maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into the on-off numbers this year, but they were notably bad for Jaylen Brown compared to a lot of these other MVP candidates. All of these other MVP candidates, they were notably bad without Jaylen Brown on the floor. His on-off net rating, the Celtics with Jaylen Brown on the floor compared to without Jaylen Brown on the floor, minus 9.4. That is not what you want to see from your franchise MVP candidate. And I really do think he is still an MVP candidate. Like, again, you can only read into these numbers so much. When you watch a Celtics game, Jaylen Brown's taking over. He's been incredible this year. But the Celtics are just as great. And as the numbers suggest, even better without Jaylen Brown on the floor. Now you have to have him in at the end of the games. He's your number one scoring option, and you need that type of player in at the end of the games. You need that type of player starting for your team. But I don't know, maybe the numbers are skewing this a little bit for me, but he didn't crack my top three.
Is this like an MVP candidacy for like Neemias Queta or something?
That's actually exactly where I'm going here. My number three MVP candidate is Neemias Queta, center of the butt. No, shout out Neemias Queta though, he's hooping. I'd love to check out what his on-off numbers are. Maybe they're a bit better than our MVP friend Jaylen Brown here. My number three candidate is Cade Cunningham, and he has taken such a huge leap this year. He's shown these flashes of being a truly incredible floor general in the past. And with the Pistons being as good as they are this year, this has really flourished. There is no doubt he is one of the best players in the NBA. And he's really the only offensive spearhead of the Pistons, who are the second best team in the league right now, which is just incredible. I mean, it's not like he's surrounded by Kevin Durant or these go-to scorers. He is the engine. He is the Detroit Pistons. Now, obviously, the Pistons' identity is kind of almost built through the trenches with Jalen Duren and with Isaiah Stewart and with Asar Thompson, this heavy pressure defense on the ball, nagging you, not letting you breathe. That is a huge reason why Detroit is as good as they are. But Cade Cunningham is the engine of this team. And pressure defense, it really does raise the floor of your team, but the Pistons would be nowhere close to as good as they have been without Cade Cunningham, without his go-to scoring ability, without his feel for playmaking, being able to find open shooters, the limited shooters that Detroit does have. Again, they're a pretty limited offensive talented team, and Cade Cunningham is the maestro behind this second best record in the league offensively. Plus 9.8 net rating with Cade Cunningham on the floor, a plus 4.9 with Cade on the floor compared to without Cade on the floor for the Pistons, which again, this is what I'm saying. The numbers are the numbers, but I'm not going to read into them too much when I am watching Cade Cunningham take over games with my eyes. I believe that the Pistons probably hold their own very well without Cade on the floor because of the pressure defense I talked about. So I do think maybe that on-off number is a bit misleading because not every team has those hustlers, those pressure defenders coming off the bench that the Pistons have. They're super bought into that, whether you're a starter or a bench player. But Cade has just been incredible to watch this year, and he is a clear MVP candidate, and he's my number three.
All right, we are at our number two picks in our MVP ballots. My number two pick, there really won't be much commentary to add to this because my pick is Cade Cunningham at number two. Chris said pretty much all the points that
I was gonna say I was really hoping you didn't exclude him here.
no, just kidding. He's not in my top five at all. This is for Duncan Robinson. No, I'm kidding. Cade Cunningham has breathed life into the Pistons and obviously has them in the number one spot in the East. His numbers are pretty similar from last year overall, but it's just showing that he's consistent and the team around him is built well to suit his needs. Obviously, with shooters like Duncan Robinson, they went out and got Tobias Harris from the Sixers, and just a plethora of great talent, even in like the front court with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. This team is built for somebody like Cade Cunningham. He's an engine. He can do it all. He's a tall point guard, scores very well, play makes very well. And JB
He's
Bicker's,
turned into a really great defender this year as well.
yeah.
That's something I didn't really point out during my case. I mentioned how the entirety of the Pistons, from Cade Cunningham down to Danis Jenkins, they have really bought into this pressure defense, this relentless defense. And Cade's been at the forefront of that. He's been incredible in defense. He's taken a huge step up in that regard, which is why I have him over a lot of the guys I have him over, and I'm sure you can say the same. My number two MVP candidate, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, plus 15.6 net rating with him on the floor versus other teams, plus 10.3 net rating when Shai is on the court compared to the Thunder without Shai on the court, which is substantially better, at plus 10 over 100 possessions. Shea, I think he's having a better season than he did last year, and last year I thought it was a pretty unanimous decision to make him the MVP, to be honest. And he's having arguably a better season than he had last year, statistically speaking. He is what makes the Thunder go. He is probably the best isolation scorer in the NBA. There's not a whole lot else to say about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander that y'all don't already know and that we haven't talked about. He is truly one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. I don't think we have to wait any longer to say that. Like he's having one of the greatest scoring peaks for a player in history. Not just, oh, he's been one of the greatest scorers of the 2020s. No, like ever. The way he is able to manipulate defenders at any level of the court, it's not like he's Steph Curry who all respect to Steph Curry. Steph Curry is also one of the greatest scorers of all time, but Steph Curry really was honed into one aspect of the floor, which was obviously near the three-point line. Shea's doing it everywhere. Shea's doing it in the mid-range. He's doing it in the post. And obviously he's, doing it from extended range by the three-point line. And he's the last dude you want to see a defender on in an isolation scenario. And he's so much more than that. He's a truly great playmaker. There are no empty assists here. He's really bought into the Dagnall offensive method of being unselfish and finding the best shot. It just so happens that a lot of times the best shot is a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander isolation look because that's how good of a scorer he is. Just like we talked about with the Pistons, Shea is the engine to the Thunder, and he is the reason why they are still title favorites despite having more losses already than they did last season. He's my number two. I think there's one guy who I think is a slightly better case here if you see where I'm going with this, but yeah, Shea's my number two.
Yeah, I feel like I know who that person is, but my number one pick, and we kind of had the same order here, so we both had them going one after another, is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, number one. So we both had Shea and Cade right next to each other. Piggybacking off what you said, he's the best player on the best team in the league in terms of record. That's usually a good indicator that you're an MVP favorite, as is Cade in the East and Shea is in the West. Shea is the reigning MVP and Finals MVP, taking that over the Pacers back in the Finals in 2025. Of course, if Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles didn't explode in Game 7, maybe this would be a different discussion. We wouldn't be talking about the Thunder being champions, but you never know. And Shea is the second leading scorer in the league. And Chris, did you know that SGA is hovering around a 50-40-90 right now in shooting percentages?
That doesn't shock me.
55, 38, 89. So got to bump up that 3-point and free throw percentage up a hair, and he'll be joining some elite company in that 50-40-90 club. Some legendary names in there as well. So Shea is just, he's one of one. He does it everywhere. Like you said, he kind of brings that mid-range game back, which I don't think is as prominent as it once was. It's a knack on the NBA that, oh, it's just threes. Well, if you watch Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, it's a little bit of a different story. You have that mid-range game. You have that free throw, despite Shea being accused of being a free throw merchant at times, and maybe he is. We'll never know unless
They say free throw merchant. I say manipulating defenders.
unless we're in Shea's mind, unless we try and pick his brain or something. But yeah, manipulating defenders and getting that ref love, getting the love from the refs, and just giving them that wink. Give me that foul call. He's a great player overall, and he plays defense. He's a great offensive player. He's going to take the Thunder far in the playoffs this year. They should be back-to-back champions. It's hard to do it one year, but there's a lot of great teams. They're going to get at least to the Western Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is taking my top choice on my ballot.
I think he's probably more likely to win it than my number one. Like you said, best player on the best team. And also the games missed factor is definitely worth noting here. But you took the missed games factor a little more seriously with this guy than I did. My number one choice for MVP this year is Nikola Jokic,
Hmm.
who I think can only miss one more game, if I'm not mistaken. but he's historically been like pretty healthy, like very healthy. Like it was almost, it didn't feel real seeing the notification that he was gonna be out for however long he was out. I think he was out roughly a month. I think it was a knee injury, something lower body, but he's always been healthy historically. And I think he can make it 20, 25 games without missing one because he usually hasn't. He's historically played most of his games. So I'm kind of banking on that one here. Again, this isn't quite a prediction. Like again, I think Shea is probably more likely to win it. Again, he can afford to miss more games and like you said, best player on the best team. So I think Shea's probably more likely to win it. But my MVP in my heart this year is Nikola Jokic. Shea is the hub of the Thunder. Just like Cade is the hub of the Pistons, just like Jaylen Brown's the hub of the Celtics and Kawhi and Donovan Mitchell. They're the centerpiece, obviously, but I think Jokic redefines what we call a hub in basketball. You literally just get the ball in his hands and he is going to make something positive happen. And that is all the Nuggets do, and all the Nuggets really do is win with him on the court or be competitive at the very least. It's unreal what he's able to do with the ball in his hands. And he has a next level all-time great playmaking feel. Maybe the best ever, honestly. The way he's able to direct traffic with the ball in his hands. He'll stand there with the ball up above his head and he'll be looking around and signaling to teammates and downloading data about whatever defense he's playing, and he's able to manipulate it and get a bucket out of that. Whether he's racking up an assist to a teammate, finding somebody wide open that 95% of players in the NBA wouldn't find or wouldn't be able to direct into that position, or whether he's scoring the basketball himself. He is an amazing scorer as well. You almost think of him as sort of this passive playmaker with the ball in his hands, but he is a dominant scorer. It's just that you don't even really feel it while he's watching the game, because of all the other things he's doing on the offensive end. It's like you'll look up in the fourth quarter after, seeing him do what he does all game and have the ball in his hands and be directing traffic like no one else has done in NBA history. And you'll look up in the fourth and he has 38 points. You're like, where the hell did those come from? It's unreal. It's unreal. He is like literally no one else we've ever seen in NBA history. And, as I've kind of mentioned a lot of times through this discussion, I've mentioned the on-off net rating number. The Nuggets with Nikola Jokic are 15 points better per 100 possessions than the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic on the floor, which was by far the highest positive number of any of these MVP candidates. Easily. It wasn't even close. And the Nuggets, they've actually had an okay record without Jokic this season. But again, you can only read into these numbers so much. And when you turn on a Nuggets game and you're able to watch what Nikola Jokic does, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to watch what he does. It's a privilege to watch Shea score. It's a privilege to watch Cade direct traffic and score and defend at the level he does. Again, he's an elite player in the NBA. But watching Jokic is literally like nothing we've ever seen before. And he has the way he plays and his role, his one of one, never before seen role within the offense is what I think makes him the most valuable player in the NBA. Shea is one of the greatest scorers of all time, but we've seen these players before that are some of the greatest scorers of all time and pretty good playmakers and pretty good defenders. There's no comparison for Jokic. There's no player who has the ball in his hands 90% of the game and is sitting there directing traffic and scoring at will and finding open teammates at will. It's like you see coaches talk about it. It's like there's no stopping him. Like you can only, pray to limit the amount of opportunities he has to make an impact on offense. And, he's a fine defender. I've talked about the complete player aspect of the MVP race, but he maybe might not be the most complete player if we're factoring in defense a ton. But what he's able to do on offense is it washes that. It's unreal. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. I think it's the most valuable role any team has ever had in the history of the game, the role Nikola Jokic has in an offense. He is my MVP here as we go down the stretch, the final stretch of the season here. It's going to be interesting to see how the MVP race folds out. It's going to be interesting to see how the playoff race folds out. But Jokic is my MVP heading into this final stretch. Shea's your MVP heading into the final stretch. I think one of them will end up winning it. I don't think it'll be Cade, but again, who knows? It's a pretty open race.
Despite the fact that the Miami Heat are always in trade rumors to acquire superstar players in the NBA, they always seem to be in the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference. To get more insight into the Miami Heat this week, and also on a new topic, the video game NBA 2K, we have our third guest on Diehlman at Halftime Season 3. Let's get into it. So for our third guest of season 3 on the Diehlman at Halftime podcast, we welcome Chi-Town Low. Chi-Town Low is an NBA 2K content creator and streamer. He has 49,000 TikTok followers and 18,000 Instagram followers, and he also streams on Twitch. Chi-Town Low is based out of Chicago. Low, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
So we wanted to get your thoughts on the Miami Heat as they're looking to get out of the play-in tournament seats, and of course, we'll also hit up some 2K questions as well.
Larry, I'm gonna interrupt you right here. Chi-Town Low, whatever we want to call you. Why are you a Heat fan? Based out of Chicago, what's with the Heat?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy every time I tell people, but I didn't actually start watching basketball until 2012 because it was the only time, well, in the finals, the only time games were on like ABC. So I didn't need cable. No one in my like immediate family watches it. So the only first game I saw was the finals of the Heat versus the Thunder. And I was like 11 years old. So I just chose the team that won. And like I never left them. That's like the whole story.
Bandwagon from the jump. Okay, Low.
But I'm loyal, so it's okay.
All right. Yeah.
Fair,
You've
fair.
earned it. You've earned it.
So it feels like the Heat are constantly in the mix of potential superstar acquisitions, but they never really pull the trigger. And because of this, they stay in the pack of the Eastern Conference. Has this team shown you enough to believe they can win a title if they acquire a superstar, maybe even if it was just a 1-year rental, or should they just blow things up and build from the ground up?
I've been saying this even since Jimmy was there. Like the Jimmy Butler runs were like amazing, and it was so like it was so ridiculous. The second they made it to the finals, I bought a conference finals championship T-shirt off eBay for like $12. But the entire time until now, I still think there is no reason this team should exist. Like we should have blown up a long time ago. There's like no success in this team's future until we blow up. I'm tired of being playing champions. It's kind of sad.
So I gotta ask, who are you willing to move off of then? Better question. I feel like there's a lot of guys you'd probably be willing to move off of. Who do you want to keep around? Do you think like a Khalil Ware is worth keeping around? Nikola Jovic, you guys just extended. I don't think he's had too good of a season, to put it lightly. So what's your idea for the core of this team moving forward if they do decide to blow it up like you want?
See, at one point I was saying everybody but Bam, but even Bam hasn't been as consistent as I would like. I kind of like to blame that it all went downhill when he got with Asia Wilson, but honestly, everybody can go. I say maybe keep Bam, but maybe it's just the team around him. He'll play better. I do like Norman Powell, but I feel like it'll make the most sense to get rid of him at his peak because he's been playing pretty good. But yeah, I think at this point, just try to get as many picks as possible, or maybe get some young guys that could turn into something. Because it's not like we give Ware enough minutes, but at the same time, he's not the most consistent. So yeah, I'm saying just everybody can go.
Now, does this have to do also, do you think, like with the, if you want to call it the administration, like Eric Spoelstra has been around forever, and you're always seeing people say about Heat culture, and they make these random finals appearances, and then they flame out in the first round, and then Pat Riley's offering a bag of chips for Giannis. So, like, do you think Pat Riley, is mostly to blame? Do you think Spoelstra has, in a way, worn out his welcome? Is it kind of a mix of everybody, you think?
I don't want to say it's Spo because I know people are starting to figure out our offense a little bit better, and I think a lot better. I think we fell pretty heavy offensively, but the fact that we were able to do something with what we have is telling. I think the fact we can't get anybody in is more so front office Pat Riley's fault. It's like he won't really take a risk to bring anybody. And it's just because we keep making the playoffs. I mean, maybe he doesn't care that he won't do anything regardless, but he's not pulling the trigger on anything real.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you guys are stuck in the mud a little bit. But I kind of tend to agree with you. I think it's a lot more the front office's fault than Spo. Because Spo, what he has done is shown an ability to adapt. And there's a reason he's been the coach. He's one of the most longest tenured coaches in the NBA. And, like we just talked about, you guys are always in the mix for these superstars, but Pat Riley kind of just ends up twiddling his thumbs. So you guys are kind of stuck in this mediocrity. But, all that being said, just going off of the standings, I think you guys have maybe even exceeded expectations this year. Still, and that's also kind of why I give a lot of credit to Spo, and I agree with you that it's probably more the front office's fault. But what do you believe is the most likely outcome for the Heat this year? And it's been up and down. It's been stuck in the mud like we've talked about. But do you think this team can even hang with a Detroit, a Boston, a New York? Or do you think them getting bounced in the play-in is more likely?
I think we're gonna win another play-in championship,
Okay.
and then we might take a game against the Pistons, maybe, probably not, but that's as far as we go. I can't see this team going any further than that, unless we
That
go on another
that's the
crazy run
consensus,
again.
man. Yeah, I mean, and y'all don't have a Jimmy Butler to carry you guys to that run. I mean, who knows? Maybe we get a legendary run from Norman Powell. Do you think that's in the cards? Do you think Norman Powell can put up a Dollar Tree Jimmy Butler run?
Yeah, if we do, that'll be to get the one win against the Pistons. I don't know if it's gonna pull us through.
Chris, you gotta get some respect. Dollar General, Norman Powell.
All right, yeah, all right, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, shout out Norman Powell, first time All-Star. Do your thing, bro. But let's transition here, Lo, to your 2K area of expertise. You've played a ton of my career. It's what you've built your reputation off of. You've played my career. You've played so many different years, so many different iterations of the game. But who is your Mount Rushmore of the My Career demons? Those four dudes, game specific, who have given you the most trouble going off against you or not letting you breathe on defense. Your My Career demons. I want your Mount Rushmore.
Okay, now this list is pretty much people who have made me super miserable in each 2K I've played so far. Number one, this is probably the player I hate the most because it was so ridiculous. There was nothing I could do. It's 2K15 Kevin Durant.
Wow.
I remember we made it to the conference finals and he did not miss. Like no misses. I'm coming down and dropping like 80 points, maybe, yeah, 80 something points. He has like 50 points. Maybe missed one, but like it was unguardable. I hated him, but I got to put him up there for
Were you
sure.
playing the three? Were you guarding him?
No, I was a point guard. I was
Okay.
on the Rockets and we traded for Tyreek Evans. So Evans was going through hell. Yeah.
Oh man, poor Tyreek Evans.
Next, I would put 2K17 Kyrie, which I just
Mm.
finished 2K17.
Fair.
We played them in the conference finals, and he shot lights out. Every shot was like from 30 feet away or was a fadeaway three contested. It was ridiculous. We swept them, but like he made it interesting. If he didn't get injured in game 4, they might have taken one. But yeah, he's got to be up there too. And then the most embarrassing one is probably 2K13 Marcin Gortat.
Yo, what?
Yeah, yes. We played
How?
them in
Yeah,
the
we gotta hear this.
finals. We played them in the finals. 2K13 was already a super hard game to play on Hall of Fame because the higher the difficulty, the dumber your teammates. I was on the Knicks, and it was Tyson Chandler guarding him. Supposedly good defender, Tyson Chandler. He looked like prime Hakeem against him. It was just anything he wanted in the post, fadeaways, hook shots. I think one hook shot over the backboard,
What?
and yeah, it was terrible. And I think he won Finals MVP.
Now was he running those Gortat screens or whatever? I know Wall and Beal always did that with him. That's some crazy.
Yeah, he probably was. I was just scared when he caught the ball. That was really it.
I think I played against Chris the one time and I hit we were playing just a regular game and I hit like a step back three with Margin Gortat. It was disgusting.
God,
It,
I
it was
remember that.
Yeah.
You just reopened a file in the back of my brain. That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know Marcin Gortat had a Finals MVP in him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Maybe multiple. I'm good. I only played 1 year on that. And
Wow.
then for my last player, is not someone I personally struggled, but I feel like if I don't give him his flowers, it'll feel wrong. And that's 2K13, I guess 2K13, 14, Gerald Green.
Oh,
I
Yes, I was
know
waiting on
this dude
him.
is insane. Yeah. And when I played against him, he wasn't really doing anything. But I know the history. This man is notoriously broken. So I had to put him there.
I've heard, isn't Jeremy Lamb, I think like 2014, isn't he broken too?
Oh yeah. But yeah, that's another. He's also someone who didn't go crazy against me. I'm not
Hmm.
sure why. Yeah, but I know the history. I
Yeah,
respect it.
Gerald Green's got a reputation, man. I mean, if you're the user playing him, it's insane. It's like he can hit his head on the shot clock when he gets up in the air, run into the rim, and then he can also pop a three. It's he was like in the 70s in the overalls in that game, but it felt like he was a 99 game breaker. It was crazy. So I'm honestly surprised to hear that you're able to tame the beast of those mid 2000s Gerald Greens.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Some great players overall, Jeremy Lamb and Joe Green. So going to our last scenario, all of your opponent's sliders on 100, Hall of Fame difficulty. You're my player in their position, and you have four other game-specific players of your choosing. What's your unbeatable starting five looking like?
Okay. First one is crazy, but hear me out. I'm gonna be point guard, and then I need 2K26 Tyler Hero next to me. Okay. Now,
Yo,
the
leave the
case for
Zoom,
him,
bro. What?
the case for him is I got this man like 350 plus point games running floppy on Hall of Fame.
Yo, floppy's a different play, bro. That's a
Yeah,
free
so
bucket.
that's the only reason he made it here. There's definitely better people, but because it's dear in my heart, he had to come with me. And then at the three, I need 2K15 KD. I hate
All right.
him, but he's coming with me. At the four, I was between. I guess he's more of an honorable mention. 2K16 LeBron, but I'm gonna go with 2K23 Giannis.
Okay.
Very fair.
And then at the five, it's got to be Wemby. Give me 26 Wemby. No one should be scoring down there. And I could just throw him the ball at any point.
Yeah,
Giannis
but
and
what if
Wemby.
he had Marcin Gortat down in the post though? Can Wemby handle that much of a talent and Marcin Gortat?
I don't know if anyone can until
That'd be a
he's on
matchup for the
defense.
ages.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Wemby and Giannis in the front court, that's just unfair. Like that is so unfair. And
When you
then
hit
Kevin,
triangle with Wemby, he's getting a block.
well, hey, with Kevin Durant on your team, if you can't beat him, join him, and he has a habit of doing that. So it's not like it's not in the cards for him. Some great picks overall, and hopefully we can see the Heat, maybe get out of their funk that they've been in these last bunch of years. I feel like the play-in tournament at this point is just the Heat, Hawks, and Bulls Invitational. It's kind of what it is. Chris and I talked about earlier in the year, like the Bulls, they're fool's gold, 5-0 start. The Hawks just always stuck in mediocrity. The Heat either going to the finals or just flaming out. And, we'll see whoever else can get out of there. So, Lo, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your 2K knowledge. And hopefully we can get you back in the future.
Of course. Yeah, this is really fun.
Finally, let's go to our game of the week. For this week's game of the week, let's do the San Antonio Spurs at the Philadelphia 76ers. This game is on Tuesday, March 3rd at 8 o'clock. And Chris brought up a good point with this game. It's actually going to be a throwback game. NBC will be recreating a 1995-96 broadcast. The announcers, graphics, replays, pregame show, scorebook, and even grainy flashbacks. The Throwback Tuesday telecast starts at 7 o'clock with NBA Showtime before Bob Costas, Isaiah Thomas, the old Isaiah Thomas, not the new one, and the full retro crew take over at 8 o'clock. So getting a little bit of throwback action with this broadcast is going to be a good sight to see with two teams that are hopefully going to put on a good show. The Sixers right now 33-26, sixth in the East and on a 3-game win streak, and the Spurs 43-16, second in the West, and they've won 11 straight. As Chris pointed to, the Spurs are a good basketball team with or without Victor Wembanyama, and they're doing this with him. For the Sixers, Joel Embiid's going to be out the next couple games with an oblique injury. So they're going to have to manage that as they always do with him and injuries. Tyrese Maxey recently became the Sixers all-time leader in three-point field goals made, passing Allen Iverson. So Tyrese Maxey already high in the record books for the 76ers franchise. For the Spurs, Wemby, he's been struggling the last couple games shooting wise, but the rest of his game obviously makes up for it. His numbers are always off the charts, no matter scoring or defense. He's always everywhere. San Antonio right now is in the middle of a 5-game Eastern Conference road trip, getting those teams they don't see that often, and the Sixers are right in the middle of that one. I think this is going to be a great game overall. The lack of Embiid against Wemby will be noticeable, as Joel Embiid humbled Victor Wembanyama a few years ago with a 70-burger. Victor Wembanyama, I think, will be the difference, as he always is. Chris, I'm going to go with the Spurs on this one, as it pains me to say. I'm going with the Spurs, 129-118.
Yeah, I thought this would be a super fun game to highlight here with the throwback NBC broadcast. I always love when they do stuff like that. It's very much appreciated in a era of relative dryness from NBA presentation, but I really think the NBC presentation this season with the new media deal has been a breath of fresh air. I've loved what NBC's done this season, and this is yet another example of something awesome they've done. So I think this will be a very fun, a really fun game to watch, even if it's not competitive, which I don't think it will be. The Spurs are the hottest team in the NBA right now. I think they're on an 11-game win streak. And we've gotten a good look recently of what the Sixers are without Joel Embiid. And it is not a very good basketball team, I'll tell you that. And Embiid's going to be out in this one. The Spurs are rolling. Not a whole lot more to it here. I'm going to go with the Spurs 125-104. A 21-point victory here. This might be the largest margin of victory I've picked in a game of the week so far this season. But yeah, I think the Spurs are gonna dominate Philly here. But hey, it'll be fun to watch. It'll be awesome to watch at the presentation. I will be seated for it. It'll be a great game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, as you said. Like, it's good to have that throwback charm and just showing fans of today this is what a broadcast looked like back in the day. Instead of a lot of the fans nowadays probably grow up more so in the 2010s and didn't appreciate the old times. And we gotta respect our elders. We got to respect our elders, and despite the fact that we youngins say old heads and
Larry, you're an old head, bro. This is your broadcast.
I know,
This is
I
your
know.
broadcast.
As I've been told many a time, yes, I'm an unk, I'm an old head, despite the fact that I am an elderly 25 years old. Yes, I am very much an old head. Yeah, so this is gonna be a good throwback. Sixers Spurs. We'll see who can take over Tyrese Maxey and Victor Wembanyama. Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the podcast accounts, Chris and me, on social media. The 3 podcast accounts on Instagram, TikTok, and X or Twitter are under @Diehlman@half. My personal X and Instagram are @Larry Diehlman. Chris's personal X and Instagram are @ChrisDippy. All 7 handles are in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, although you can find Diehlman at Halftime on major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, the main podcast website is on Buzzsprout. The website URL is Diehlman@halftime.buzzsprout.com. Feel free to send a comment by using the Send Us a Text button located in each episode's bio. With the exception of Apple Podcasts, the text option is available on Buzzsprout and all of the major platforms. Your comment could end up in the fan mail section of the Buzzsprout website. And thank you to Chi-Town Low for being our guest this week on the podcast. You can follow him on Instagram and TikTok @Chi-Town.lo. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at Halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.